Welcome back, everyone. Now that we've created our first program, let's look at a few things. Java is strictly typed language, or strongly typed language, or case sensitive. Let's put it here as a comment. Java is strong typed language, case sensitive. What do I mean by this? What I mean by this is, you remember how we said system here? You see, we have S capital and other letters as a lowercase. We have out lowercase, println lowercase. Let's try to change it. Let's try to put system instead of system. What happens here? Eclipse is going to automatically give you a warning. It will say that these are compiler-related warnings. We're going to get to that difference of different kind of warnings later. But basically, anytime you see a light bulb with a X next to it, it means this code will not compile, and you'll get it will be highlighted for you as well. So let's put it this way, and let's try to run it. It will say errors exist in required projects. First project, proceed with launch. Still go, proceed with launch. What happens? You get something in red. Usually things in red are a signs of danger or signs of something breaking. We're not going to go into details of what you're getting in the console, but we're going to get back to it, fix it, run it, things work. Let's do one more thing. Let's do it lowercase. The same mirror. If I run it, I'm not getting it. I proceed, I'm not gonna be happy with what I see. So let's go back and fix this. The same applies everywhere else. If I do out, it's not gonna run. Again, remember, Java is strongly typed language, or strictly typed language. There are advantages and disadvantages to this. We will not dive into it. Next, naming conventions. Look at this. When we said public class hello, we put H with a capital letter. However, when we said public static void main, we put M as a lowercase letter. These are the ethical rules, not strict rules, but ethical rules that are defined by naming convention. Naming convention is there to make you to help you read others' codes easier by knowing that if something starts with a capital letter, it's a class. If something starts with a lower letter, it is a method. So we're gonna say here, classes start with capital letter or uppercase letter, right? Methods start with lowercase letters. Okay. Now, both classes and methods continue with a camel case. So if I am to call this class hello world, I will not just say hello world. This is harder to read, right? I will say hello world. Capitalizing first letter of each new word in a name is called camel case. So camel, let me do this, camel case, each first letter of each additional word starts with capital letter. Okay, so this is an example of camel case. This method name is also camel cased. This is a class. This is a method. Simple difference here in the class, first letter of the first word is capital. In the method, it is not capital. It's a lowercase letter. Okay, let's change this back. Now, one more thing while we're here. You see there is an error now. Why would there be an error when I change the name of my class? Simply because your class name has to be the same as your file name. You see on the Package Explorer, this class is saved under the file hello.java, whereas when we change it to hello world, this name has to change to hello world as well. And beauty of Eclipse, hover over the highlighted area, it will give you options. It says the public type hello world must be defined in its own file, not here, own file. You have suggestions for quick fixes. Rename the file to hello world or rename type to hello. So let's do this. Just rename the file to hello world. Let's see what happens. Eclipse is a very friendly IDE. What it did is it changed the file name from hello to hello world. But let's go back and change it back to hello and rename. That's it. Now, something else I want to talk to you about, and this is going to be about spaces. You see there's a space here, there's a space here. I asked you to put space here. There's RMAX space here. All these spaces are optional. Let me take them out. You see, they're all optional. Oh, well, except for comment line. After comment line, I cannot have code because that will not be accepted as a code. But if I take this comment out, see, all these spaces are optional. And I'm just going to keep it like this. I'm going to keep these spaces here. If I run this class, if I run this program, it will work. So all this space is optional. If you remember, what we said is a compiler looks at your curly braces. This is my class code. This is my method code. However, compiler does not care about the spaces. Spaces are there for us to be able to read the code. Can you read this code? Simply put, if I see a code like this in real life, I'm going to question the developer's ability to code. This is not correct. Now, what you need to do, always write code that is neat. This looks much better than what we had before. Okay? So these spaces are optional. However, spaces in the declarations or like these kind of spaces, these are not optional. Public is a keyword. It needs to be separated from the next keyword, that's class. Package is a keyword. It needs to be separated from whatever comes after, because compiler will need to read this. Compiler needs to read this is a package, good. What comes after package? Space, then the package name. Public, what comes after public? Class, then class name. Public static, there is got to be space. Okay, so these spaces are not optional. Speaking of, so talking about spaces, let's talk about something called escape sequences. Escape sequences. In order to not call these spaces weird and confuse them with the spacing that we have here, the indentation that we have here, there is a special term called escape sequences. This refers to putting spaces in our console output. You see how we came up with hello world in a single line? What if I want to put world below? If I do this, is this going to work? So IDE Eclipse automatically gave me plus blah blah blah. We'll ignore this. But if I put enter here, if I run this code, it's not going to work. Obviously, when compiler runs code, it does not accept your it accepts your space here. You can put 4 spaces here, but when you run it, it will give you that space because this is a character. This space is a character. But if I do enter, if I take it to next line, and if I run it, it will still not care about my enter. It will print empty spaces, right? These spaces right here. So what I do instead, Control Z, going back. What I do instead, I use escape sequences. Backslash, not forward slash. Backslash n. And again, this matters. It shouldn't be capital N. It should be lowercase n. Backslash n stands for new line. Let's try it. Backslash N. Run the program. You see, hello world. Let's take out the space. Run the program. Hello world. Let me take this backslash from here. Put it after R. Not two slashes, one backslash. Run it. Hello world. Right here. You see? So when Java compiler sees single backslash, it starts to look for Java star compiler, or not Java, let's do, we know we're talking about Java. Compiler starts to look for escape sequences. This N is a new line. Backslash T, as you guessed, it's a tab. Backslash. You might have guessed it or not. This is a simple backslash, because when you type, let's do this. We will see why we need separate backslash to be able to type it. If I do backslash here, it automatically gives me a compiler error. I go over it. It says invalid escape sequence, and Eclipse actually gives you all the options for backslashes for escape sequence. Backslash B, backslash T, backslash N, F, R, double quotes, single quotes, and another. So we'll look at most commons. So backslash L, because anytime, again, as I said before, when Java sees backslash, it's looking for the next character to see what you're trying to do. Backslash L is not a known command to Java, right? So instead, we do backslash. It stops complaining. I run, it prints backslash on the console. Not two of them, but one of them, right? Because this says that escape it and print it. Now, let me take this out. You see how we here used double quotes, quotation marks, but it didn't print them, right? Let's try it one more time. Run, it didn't print those quotes, right? How can we do it? As you might have guessed, use backslash and the quotation mark. This will print quotation marks. So you want to print this, but leave these quotation marks as is. Don't touch them. We'll see why we're not touching them. But anyways, if you want to print hello world here, backslash, quotation mark. It started complaining, but it stopped, right? It's when you did backslash, it started complaining because there is no backslash H, but backslash quotation mark. Come here, backslash quotation mark. Run. Voila, you got your backslash. I'm sorry, you got your quotation mark. Okay. Basically, these are major escape sequences. If you want to find others, go to your Eclipse, make a mistake, hover over, you'll be given with the list of valid escape sequences. Try it out. Now, these are also called white line characters. Not all of them, but this N and backslash N and backslash T, new line and tab, these are called white line characters. Why white line? Because the line after these become white. If I do, oh, I haven't shown you backslash T. Some of you might probably have tried it. That's a good thing. Backslash T, as you might have guessed, it will give me extra space. I believe, yeah, it's just a one tab space. Okay, so these are all the escape sequences I wanted to talk to you about today. Before I proceed, in a mood of learning, the best way of learning is to learn from our own mistakes. Please do not hesitate to make intentional mistakes. Make a mistake, print this in a capital P, remove this mistake, for example. Keep one mistake at a time. Hover over, read what happens. Read what Eclipse suggests. This is the best way of learning. Remove this remove the semicolon, see what happens. And you better make this mistake at this stage instead of making this mistake after writing a code that has 100 lines of code and it doesn't compile. Then you will be suffering to find that you forgot semicolon. Please do not forget semicolon. Watch out for your spacings, for the use of spaces. Write a neat code, right? Feel free to use extra space, make it easy to read, right? This is easier to read. Add comments on what you're trying to do. Trying to print hello world. And down the road, we will see other commenting conventions. Okay, so this is about it for this video. Thank you, and I'll see you again.